I'll be honest. I'm feeling slightly nervous about doing this. When they say don't meet your legends, and definitely Simone Vincenzi is up there in the people that I admire in business. Simone, good to have you with me.
It's great to be here. I didn't know you were going to start in this way, but it's very flattering. It's very flattering, Jamie.
So I have been in your world probably for the last 12 months, introduced to you by another very good friend of mine, mutual friend of ours, Elliot Kay. Again, somebody else that I hold up on a pedestal that's an expert in their field. And I asked Elliot if he would introduce us last year, and he invited you along to our Circle Networks Live last September. Got to meet you. It was the opportunity for you to meet some of our people and see if you thought, this was a community that might work for you. And then you've traveled the world with us. You've been out to Dubai earlier this year in January. You came to our event up in the north of Scotland in the Scottish Highlands last month in March.
Now you can't get rid of me. I love the Circle Network so much. You can't get rid of me. I'm part of Prestige, so I'm in.
But I do find that when you meet people that you've got similar values with, that you just get on with, it's easy to start collaborating, isn't it?
Even if they beat your pool.
Yes, and we have a running joke. Simone and I are not competitive in the slightest, but I'm reveling in the fact that when we were away in Dubai, I beat him at pool.
You did. The table was inclined, though. Oh, well, we'll leave it there.
So Simone specializes in the world of webinars. If you've never come across him, you need to pay attention to this episode, because this might be the missing piece to your puzzle. I think some people feel like this is the answer where everything has been going wrong. Oh my God, I just need to do webinars. And people have had that reaction. They were not thinking about webinars until they were in the audience and heard Simone speaking. And I think for a lot of people, there's a huge missed opportunity by not leveraging this particular set of skills. Now, some people, I think that webinars are just like a Zoom call. I just set up a diary invitation, I go live for 60 minutes, and then magically at the end of it, I get clients. Is that how it works, Simone?
I wish. I wish I would have made way more money if it was that simple. If we look at webinars, I love to start a bit more like with why they work so well. There are two things I want to talk about. One is the psychology of webinars, because it's all about buying psychology. And then the second part is where do they fit on your business as part of your business? Because if you're looking at where to use your webinar in your business, the majority of the market is not ready to buy right now. The majority of your best client, they are in research phase. I think there's been a lot of studies that only at any given time, 3% of any given market is ready to spend money right now. All the others, the 97%, is there searching, browsing, trying to find solutions. And so people spend time before they spend money. And when you're having a webinar, is a chance for you to say, hey, you are having this problem, you're searching for solutions. I'm going to show you how you can solve this problem. And then if you like more, then you can work with us. So that's the simplest bastardized version of why webinars work and how they work. Is really for people to build that connection, that relationship, that trust, and show them that you are the right person to work with. Now, in terms of are they just a Zoom call? No, because it is part of a sales process we talked about just before this call, right? Is a touch point in the customer journey. And if you see it as the first touch point where you can invite people to come into your world, learn about you, learn about what you do, give value, show them solutions to problems that they have in a way that inspires them and teaches them in a way that is valuable, then you have something really good. So not just a Zoom call. The content of a webinar is designed to get someone to go from, I don't know you, to here's my money, or let's book a call, I'd love to work with you. That's the distinction.
Okay. So let's just whet people's appetite a little bit with some success stories of people that have worked with you, Simone.
I mean, so many. Oh, I can talk about a client recently. Actually, this is a recent project. He raises funds for properties, and you're thinking about webinars to raise property investments. Really? Uh, we did in one webinar, the same webinar. I think I did it 3 times. So far, we have raised about almost $1 million, just shy of $1 million. Our target was 4 million raised throughout the year. In the first 2 months, we raised about 1 million. So that's a great way to use webinars in particular because think about that. If you're an investor and you need to give money to someone, I need to trust that I'm giving money to the right person or the right institution or the right organization. So instead of saying, hey, we got this investment opportunity, do you want to invest with us? Saying, hey, come to the on the webinar so we'll show you how you can get the most of your money that is sitting there. And I'll show you different options and then build value. If you want to book a call, you like what you see, let's explore how you can invest with us and the return that we can give you. So that was a recent one. But also the good thing, and you don't even have to have a lot of people because the most important is to have the right people on the webinar. I think that these webinars, they don't have more than 7, 8 people at the time. But we want to have the right 7, 8 people that can have the money to invest, right? So that's number one. I can also talk about Kristen. She's a relocation specialist there. So she helps people to relocate from the US to Europe. They want to retire, want to move away from the US. And she has an audience, but she partnered up with a magazine, actually. She partnered up with a magazine that talks about relocation. So great fit. The magazine promoted the webinar. She delivered a webinar talking about the benefit of relocating to Europe and all the things to think about when you're planning your relocation. So really good, valuable webinar. And then the call to action was, hey, you can do all these things on your own, or you can work with me and we can get them done in 30 days. You have all your paperwork sorted. We'll find your location. We'll make sure that you have all the right documents and the right legal set up. And this is how much it cost. Think on that webinar, I made $70,000 on this, like within the 90 minutes. But also, you have people that are even starting out in business. And I remember, for example, one of our clients is an astrologer. It's a completely different field.
Yeah.
And she invited 10 people to her webinar. She talked about astrology. And then she invited people to book an astrology session with her. I think there were about 10 people there, and she got 4 clients out of it, like a few $100 there. So depending on where you are, you can get the first few clients, or you can really use it to scale your business.
And one of the things that I like about it, I've been through your process, and force isn't the right word, but there's a structure to how to put your webinar together that naturally flows, that takes people from a cold lead or prospect potentially, or someone that doesn't know you very well, right through to wanting to become a client.
Yeah, there are ultimate 3 things. If you're simplifying the process, there are 3 things that every webinar should do. They need to answer these 3 questions. Are you the right person? So can I trust you? Do you know what you're talking about? So if you don't know what you're talking about, then webinars will not work for you. Why? Because you can't talk about something you don't know, or people will smell it. All right. So first of all, if you know what you're talking about, then it's a great thing because that's the first question that the webinar needs to answer. The second question that the webinar needs to answer is how does your methodology work? How do you see the solution to this problem? Because if you think about even a circle, for example, the way you see networking is very different from the way BNI sees networking. Circle vibe, very different from BNI vibe. And if I want to choose a networking organization, I need to see how you're different. How does your methodology work? How does your process work? So that's the second question that the webinar needs to answer. And the third one is, will it work for me? Will it work for me? So will it work for my scenario? Will it work for the kind of industry that I'm in? Will it work for the situation that I have in my life, whatever it is? Because if the person comes on the webinar and thinks, I trust you, understand who you are, understand how you work and your process and how it's different and better, and I understand how will it work for me. If I have the money and I'm ready to buy, I'm going to buy from you instead of buying from someone else. So that's the simplified version of the process.
And it's a good opportunity to build relationships with people as well, isn't it?
It is. It's building a relationship at scale.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that we talk about, so this is called the Buffalo Sessions. So if you've never listened to this before, buffaloes are the only animals in the world that when a storm comes towards them, they turn to face it. I love that. They turn to face it, and all other animals run away from storms. So by turning to face the storms and then charging through it, they do it together. So they're not doing it in isolation. They're part of a herd, and they get through the storm quicker and with less pain. Perfect analogy for business, because I think as business owners, we avoid things, and it turns out they're not as bad when we turn to face them and deal with them. And when we ask other people for help as well, it makes a massive impact. You had to have a massive change in your business going from live events. So let's just go back a few years in time to what was your business before webinars?
I started as a waiter when I came to the UK and I was 20, so couldn't speak much English. Fell in love with coaching and built a youth coaching business. So got qualified in youth coaching, studied everything in English, was one of the hardest things I had to do. Took me a few years. And then I built a youth coaching business, going in schools. I think in a couple of years, I was in about 150 schools a year. Really, I created a great network really fast there. In the meanwhile, because I loved so much the personal development industry, I started a small event company, inviting the speakers that I met to come and speak to my own events. It's like I was going to other events, meeting the speakers, say, hey, we got a small event with 5, 10 people. Do you want to come? It's in a farm. if you fancy the idea. And a lot of people said yes because, I was young, driven, kind of took a liking to what I wanted to create and the drive that I had. So a lot of personal favors at the beginning. And we kept running an event every single week without failing. And that's going for 8 years. So when you're running something for 8 years, every single week without missing one, then instead of running one event a week, we say, why don't we do 2 events a week? And sometimes we said, why don't we do 3 events a week? So basically the last 5 years before COVID, we did 1,000 events in 5 years. It was, we built this great machine where we started running our own events, our own seminars, plus we had other speakers in, and then COVID hit. So now I got about 14 staff members, a machine that is working, that we have built over 8 years, and now gone overnight. Not only that, my Facebook account got hacked. I was making about $250,000 at the time, just organically from my Facebook. That was gone. Because they were all people that met me at the event. So it wasn't just like Facebook contacts like I have now. That they were people that met me and they saw our events. They were clients. So that's gone overnight. I was like, oh, shoes. I got I got to do something about it. Otherwise, rent is not going to get paid. We changed the team. It was one of the hardest time. But then I said, okay, well, I can do in-person events. Let me try to do online events and webinars. Very different beast. It took me 25 webinars to make the first sale. So it wasn't
So
easy.
Just say that again.
25 webinars to make the first sale.
25 webinars. I think a lot of people would have given up after 2 or 3 webinars.
My philosophy is if it works for others and I believe in it, if something that I feel is the right choice, if it works for others, it will work for me. I just need to figure out how to make it work for me. And I will not stop until I figure that out how. If I know that is the right thing to do. We cracked the code and then we became really good at getting webinars. Having webinars where we get clients every single time we run for at least 4 years without fail. And then a lot of other people started asking, how do you do it? And that's where our webinar training started.
I love it. So fast forward now 6 years on from COVID and that change, you've run a lot of webinars.
Yep.
You know what works, and you've codified how to help somebody within 30 days put together their first webinar.
Yeah, correct.
So just talk us through that.
There are four elements of 5 elements of every webinar, right? If you think about breaking down, what are the elements of a webinar? What do they work? The first one is the audience. Who am I targeting? The one thing you don't want to do is to have a webinar that is for different target audiences, because otherwise the message will never land, or will land only for one part and not for the full audience. But so it's one audience per webinar. In particular, if you want to use webinars for conversion, because there are different types of webinars. You can use webinars for brand building, where you can have multiple audiences, but this is not what we are talking about now. These are more webinars to get a client or get a call or get an inquiry, right? So one audience first, so knowing who you're targeting, a great offer, something simple to say yes to. This is the key component. Can I get it immediately and either buy it immediately, or if it's too complex, book a call? So it's one offer, one call to action. Fortunately, a lot of people, they try to put too many things in there, or they try to sell offers that are too complex, or they give too many offers. So people don't know what to do. So then they don't buy. Then the third element is the presentation. And the presentation is designed to position the offer to the audience. That's why you start from the audience and the offer. You don't start from the presentation. What a lot of people do when they create a webinar, they start from the slide deck. What am I going to say? No. Because your presentation is only there to design the offer, to position the offer for the audience. So you got to start from the audience, then the offer, then the presentation. And the presentation needs to answer these 3 questions. Why you? How does your methodology work? And will it work for me? Then we are moving into the marketing, right? We got to make sure that people get to the webinar. That's why I love Circle and the whole idea of friendship-fueled business, because one of the best way to market your webinars is to create collaborations with others. You go to Circle, you have your friends, you collaborate with others, and they help you promote your webinar. And of course, you can promote to your own audience, but these collaborations, they are the gold mine in the webinar space. So that's marketing. And then the final part.
Just before you move on. So
Sure.
we see that a lot with the big influencers. So when somebody that we follow who's got a huge following, you don't just see one person promoting a launch or an event. They leverage their friends and their connections, and they all collaborate to send emails out to each other's audiences to drive traffic back to that big launch event, don't they?
It is. And even if you don't do a big launch, you can have other people promoting your webinar. Like sometimes I think, well, I think the industry has been tainted, not tainted, but these big launches, they're the one that make a lot of noise. But the webinar that make the most money are often the ones that are done consistently. And a lot of people don't even know that they are happening. Because the goal is to run your webinars consistently every single month. And now, of course, if you do a launch model, it's much more complex. You need to have a way more established business. But if you run your webinars every month, you find other people and you ask them, hey, who do you know? Can you invite them to my next webinar that I have? You get 3 people there, 2 people there, 5 people there, 10 people there. Then you might have someone that can send you 100 people. But you never know if you don't build a machine. So that's where the marketing component, which is the 4th component of the webinar. And then the final component is the system. What am I going to use? Am I going to use a webinar software? Am I going to use Zoom? How am I going to send the email? So components are the audience, the offer, the presentation, the marketing, and the system. And you actually do them in this order. You work on them in this order.
And it's a smooth process. I've been through it myself. I've hosted my first webinar. And the one bit that caught me by surprise, so I signed up to do this. I'm working through it step by step. I found it very easy to get to the point where then you went, oh, now you need to set a date for your first webinar. And I hadn't quite associated the doing a webinar course with actually running my first webinar. I thought I'd complete the training and then I'd set a date. And I thought, well, it's all fresh in my mind. I'll just do this. So I think within 2 weeks, I had gone from start to running my first webinar.
Yeah. Because
It's not that hard.
you learn the most when you're running it. In fact, I'm sure, sometimes you can think about something and the moment you run it is 3 months later, you've forgotten even what you worked on. So that's why the momentum is really important. And I'm sure that when you run your first one, you learn a lot. So actually, I'm asking you, thinking about your first webinar, what are the things that you've learned just by running it about webinars in general or what you've built?
So the first thing that I got from it was belief in myself. Oh, I can actually do this. It wasn't that hard. My biggest fear beforehand was, can I talk for long enough? Some people are probably laughing hearing that, but because it was structured and I had a process behind it, I knew what I was talking about and it just flowed. So it was the belief that I got from doing my first one. Yes, there was a ton of things that I want to change for the next one, and then I can see how it becomes a process that I continually refine and improve. And I understand why you say you need to run this now on a monthly basis, because I can see that I can just get better and better at this. It's not gonna be the only thing that I do. It's part of my mix of things, and I say the same thing to people about networking. Yeah, networking's a key part of it, but it's not the only thing that you should do. We should never just rely on one thing because we just need a variety of things to appeal to different people as well. But I got a lot from it. The structure, even to the point, Simone, that by going through the process, it helped me with my one-to-one conversations with people. So even if I never ran another webinar again, it's
Which
helped
you
me
which you want because you will run another webinar.
for sure, for sure. But even if I never did, there is a ton of benefits that I can use outside of webinars. So I got a lot from it. I got a lot from it.
It
What
forces you to crystallize your message, right? Because when you're building a presentation, I agree with you. It makes you more effective in your one-to-one presentation conversations because a webinar is really like a conversation one-to-one that you're having with a group of people. And just the process of selecting the information. What do I say? What do I don't say? What's relevant here? That will make you more effective in one-to-one conversation, in your networking, everything else. I agree with you. In your marketing, in your sales, in your social media, everything comes from it.
um, and one of the things that I loved as part of the process was I ended up with all my marketing materials as part of your process. So I had copy and paste WhatsApp message, my own versions. So these are not yours. I ended up creating my email content to invite people along, the emails to send to people when they booked, the emails to follow up with people afterwards, the WhatsApp messages before, during, and after. How important is it to follow up with people?
It's crucial. It's crucial. The majority of the sale will come from the follow-up on a webinar that you will do. So you will have people that will be ready to buy or book the call, depending on your call to action and your audience on the spot. They're like, yes, I see you, I like you, I'm ready. And they are the impulse buyers, right? Because it's always two types of audiences. You have the impulsive and the thinkers. And the impulsive are the one that will buy straight away. But the thinkers are the one that are umming and ahhing, that are opening all the emails, that are thinking, shall I do it, shall I not, shall I do it, shall I not? And they evaluate all these options and the situations. And maybe you can see yourself in this, like you're listening and you say, maybe I'm a thinker, right? Or you have someone like me that is like, yeah, sure. Like, bye. So you have different audiences, and so follow up becomes really important because that's how you've built the relationship on the webinar. They will have questions. They will need extra support in buying. They will have other things that is stopping them. So checking in with them and say, hey, thank you for coming. What do you think about the offer that I made? Something relevant for you. Using that as a start point of the conversation, plus all the follow up emails that you will do, it will increase your sales massively.
So you do a lot of traveling as well. How do you fit in running, hosting webinars with all the travel that you do?
And that's the easiest thing. I just need an internet connection. Um, when you have your webinar, you run the same webinar over and over again. You don't need to change it. You just need new people to come to the same webinar, right? You don't need new webinars. You need new people to come to the same webinar. And so I schedule the webinar. Doesn't matter what I'm in the world. Like I did one when I was in Dubai. I spoke at the Circle event, and then one of the days that I was there, I had a webinar with a partner. And as long as you have a good internet connection, a laptop, a camera, you're good. You're good to go.
Okay, so it's really flexible there. So
Yes.
it, what are the questions that people have that stops them thinking about doing a webinar?
They so one, they don't think they they can be good presenters, and it is a cycle, right? The way you become a good presenter is by presenting, and so the less you present, the less good of a presenter you will be. And so some people, they say, well, I'm not a good presenter, so I'm not doing the webinar. And then I'll be like, yeah, but how are you gonna get better if you don't do it? So yes, your first few webinars might not be that great, but you run the 3, 4, 5 times. Now you become better, and then something will click, and that will bust. So that's definitely one.
Okay, so another one that I've got for you is that people think that webinars might not work for them. So I don't know. If I was a coach, how could I use webinars?
For coaching is one of the easiest ways, actually, because if you're coaching someone, you're guiding someone through a process. If I'm coaching you, I'm guiding you through a process so that I can help you achieve that particular outcome, whether it's in business, whether it's in health, whether it's in life, whether it's in spirituality, in relationship. Depending on the different coaching niches, you will guide someone to a process. So your webinar is really explaining about the process and how it works. Because so then someone can see the process there, which is one of the things I need to understand. I need to understand how you work. Let's say you are a relationship coach, right? Help people with their relationships. Think about the things that you teach to your clients. Now, these parts can become content of the webinar because now they can see how you think and how you see different from other relationship coaches. They can hear your story so that they can believe in you. And they can also see how it works for them by seeing other testimonials or case studies. And now you have the sale. So that's, for example, for a coach, that's one of the easiest ways.
Okay, I'm just going to throw a few at you here. So what about somebody maybe that offered social media services?
Right. So use LinkedIn as an example. Let's say someone sells LinkedIn services. Well, if I want to buy a LinkedIn service, I need to understand how LinkedIn works. I need to understand how what to put on my profile. How do I find the right people? When do I send the right messages or not? What kind of content am I going to put on LinkedIn? What kind of content works? What kind of content doesn't work? All these things are questions that I have about LinkedIn. Tell me on the webinar, and then you give me the choice. You want to do it on your own, or you want our support to do this for you, or teach you how to do them the right way. We have a client that sells LinkedIn training, and actually she's killing it on her webinars. I think we made about $30,000, $27,000 on her webinar selling LinkedIn services and she was teaching. It's like, hey, this is what works on LinkedIn right now. This is what doesn't work. This is how you need to approach it. Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want us to help you?
Well, but so give me. I know someone that's worked with you. So mutual friend of ours, Joe Gregory, the co-founder of Rethink Press, did an amazing job helping me publish my book. How has he used webinars?
So Joe used his webinar created a new webinar through our course on the marketing and promotion of the webinar of the book. So it was mainly focused for authors that already had the book, and their question was, "What do I do now?" Because you've written a book, right? You do the book launch. It's a big fanfare. People are signing. You feel good about yourself. You have the line. I was there. I was there at your book launch. So I was like, I got my book signed from you, right? I got another copy, which I gave to a friend of mine in the US, which is loving it, by the way. And then the question is, what do I do after? So we created a webinar that answered the questions. What do you do after? So I gave an overview of what to do after you publish a book to make sure that it's relevant, and then sold an implementation day where I think it was like a 2-day intensive where people could work with him to implement the plan that he gave on the webinar. I think it was for about £500, and I think he made 6,000 on the webinar, the first round in a new webinar, a new offer. So good job, Joe. Great job, Joe.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is if you're good at what you do and you know how to talk about what you do, and not everybody can do that. So you're good at what you do, you're competent to speak about it. You should seriously be thinking about putting webinars together and learning how to do it and then doing it on a regular basis.
Agree. And even if you don't think you're good to speak about that, because that's what stops people. You become good at speaking about that by speaking about that. That's the only way. So it's okay to go in and say, maybe my first 3, 4 webinars, they're not going to be that great. Let me just do them anyway, because my goal is to become better. There have been, like when I was approaching my 25 webinars, the first 5 or 6, I went with the mindset of probably they're not going to be really good, but I need them because they're my practice round. And even if I get 3 or 4 people, I don't care because this is my practice round. So even the approach that you set your mindset to, if you're really great as a presenter, think about conversion. If not, think about, I'm doing this so I can become good at this and then make it work until it works.
And I think there's a great fit between having a network to help you promote your webinar. So it's an easy ask, isn't it? If we go networking and we speak to the people that are in our network, would you be able to help me? Could you invite some people to my webinar? It's a free thing that they're giving away. So we're not asking people to introduce us to people to spend money. We're asking, can you invite people along where they're going to come and learn something?
Exactly. It's the easiest task that you can give because think about the referral process. Now, I can give you a referral if I know that I've got a friend that is interested in a networking event, in a networking group. If I have a friend that says, hey, I'm interested to join a networking community, oh, gotta talk to Circle, talk to Jamie. But if I don't have that conversation, then making that introduction is, can I make an introduction of something that is not even looking for? But I say, hey, you got to learn about networking the right way. Networking is amazing. My friend Jamie is doing this webinar that teaches you how to network the right way. It's a way easier way to introduce all my people to the Circle network or to any other businesses within Circle because it's safe for someone to say yes. I don't need to be an interested buyer. I can be in the 97%, not in the 3. And then you can have a chance to build a relationship and some people will be ready to buy straight away and it will be even more powerful because there is the trust already. They trust me, they trust you. That's why we had a lot of people from Circle that joined our program because they trust you. And you said, hey, you got to work with Simone or go to Simone's webinar. And because they trust you, then the sale happens. So it works.
Okay, so if you're listening to this and you think that this might be of interest and you'd like to find out a bit more, Simone has made it very easy, and I've seen him do this. So we're going to drop a link in the show notes. What's the free resource that you've got, Simone?
Yeah, we have people that ask all the same questions like, okay, what camera do you use? What microphone do I use? What webinar software do I use? Do you have slide templates? How do I approach webinar? Do you have a checklist? So we created a webinar resource pack that we deliver via WhatsApp. So there is going to be a link. You click the link and then you open WhatsApp. Once you open WhatsApp, just be careful because it creates a keyword. You need to press send. You don't do anything else. It opens WhatsApp and then you press send. When you press send, you'll see me drinking a cup of coffee, asking a question. That's when you know that it works. So there is going to be the link. We'll put also my email. So if the link doesn't work for one reason or another, you can send me an email and I'll send you the resource pack.
Thank you very much. I would encourage you to click on this and just go through Simone's process because he's the perfect example of his own process. I was listening to somebody on a podcast the other day and they were talking about, you've got to eat your own dog food. For me, I do a lot of networking. I get a lot of referrals. I pass a lot of referrals. Your thing is webinars. And so just going through your process, turning up to see you speaking and just sit and observe how you put it together, the journey that you take people on is invaluable. I would encourage everybody to do this.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Top tip for somebody who's looking, and this is largely aimed at people who are looking for more clients. What would you say, Simone?
The top tip is to run your webinars consistently. So that's number 1. Have one scheduled every month because they will compound. One webinar will have 3 people, another one will have 5, another one will have 100, another one will have 20. So then at the end of the year, you have run 12 and you see, okay, this is the total of the results that I got from my webinars. Don't judge a webinar just from the individual one, but judge it from the total of the one that you run it. So see webinars as a strategy, monthly cadence. You keep inviting people there. That's number one. Number two, use your network. Your network is the best thing you can do for webinars, because as we said, you ask your network to invite people that they know, or you create partnerships where you can deliver your webinar to someone else's network, and that's how you get new people coming in. So once you have your webinar scheduled, then your focus is shift on how can I find new people and how can I build those collaborations. So that's number two. And the third one is have the mindset of improving every single time. Because when you're creating your webinar, if it works the first time, great. But chances are it's not going to work the first time. Like anything in life, right? It's almost like if I go to basketball training, I play basketball. You can see the hoop behind me. It's like I go to basketball training and I do one training, and after the one training, I said, okay, I'm ready for the NBA. No. After one training, I realize all the things that I'm not good at and the things that I got to work on. So use that mindset of every time you run a webinar, improve one aspect of it. Sometimes it's your presentation, sometimes it's the content, sometimes it's the offer, sometimes it's your marketing material. But if you improve every single time, you arrive to a point where it will just be perfect, and you will run it and you will give your clients every single time without fail, but it will require fine tuning. So these are my 3 tips.
Amazing. Well, that feels like the perfect point to thank you for sharing this. So if you've listened to this and you've enjoyed it, share it with somebody else. It might not be for you, but it might be the episode that makes the difference to somebody else. Click the link in the show notes and sign up for Simone's WhatsApp. You'll get a series of messages that just bring you into his world to help you learn a bit more about how webinars could help you change your business. Thank you very much, Simone.
Thank you for having me, and I really, really value our friendship and our partnership. So thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. All right. Take care, everyone.